How do you handle bullying personally on a psycho-emotional level, on a mental and emotional level? Why do people self-harm? And how can we be there for one another in our hardest moments? Heavy subjects handled with grace and delicacy and charm, as per usual, on Heartstopper. This is Mended Light. So here's something I have in common with Charlie. I'm not British, I haven't played rugby, I'm not gay, but I have been bullied. Elementary school, all through elementary school and through most of middle school, I was tormented by people who saw my role in the social food chain as someone for them to just destroy and annihilate emotionally for their own amusement. This happened for almost a decade during my upbringing, and I know how devastating that can be. So even though we were bullied for different reasons, this hits close to home for me. And in this Heartstopper scene, Nick is going to ask Charlie about the bullying and how he's handled it. And trigger warning, Charlie's going to talk about self-harm and the role that self-harm had in, yes, it was an unhealthy coping mechanism, but at the same time it helped him cope. Why do people self-harm and what can we replace that with? These are all parts of our conversation today. Let's dive in.
Now your turn.
What?
Tell me something.
Like what?
You never told me about the bullying. What that was like.
We didn't need to talk about that. Everything's fine now.
Is everything fine? Like, I know you like everything to be fine and happy and perfect all the time, but you don't have to be perfect with me. Charlie, we said we'd tell each other things. After you told me about your eating thing.
Eating disorder, right? You don't have to be perfect with me. I know you want everything to be fine and happy all the time, but you don't have to be that way with me. I did a cinema therapy episode. Maybe some of you have seen it on Inside Out and toxic positivity, right? This notion that we just need to put a smile on our face, chin up, and be happy and soldier through. And that can hurt us because feelings demand to be felt. We have sadness for a reason. We have hurt for a reason. For starters, they help us to develop compassion and empathy for one another. And there's a type of love and closeness that can only come through empathy and compassion. They help us to appreciate the good times. And they also help us know when something is off or something needs to be worked through. And I love that Nick is encouraging Charlie not to run and hide from his pain, but to face it with him together. And he holds his hand and says, "Talk to me, open up."
Someone just heard Tao talking about me coming out. I think it surprised me how homophobic people are. I thought things were better nowadays. People would just call me disgusting to my face. And it went on for so long that I think I started to believe what they were saying. Made me really hate myself. So much that I used to cut myself sometimes. I don't want to feel like that anymore.
Self-harm is very often misunderstood by people who don't do it. Like, what type of sense does that make? To cut yourself? I don't get it. That's silly. That's crazy. It's not. People do it for multiple reasons. One is they don't feel anything emotionally. They feel dead inside, so they cut themselves to feel something. Another is because the opposite. They feel too much. They feel so much emotional pain and agony that they hurt themselves to replace their emotional pain with physical pain. Like, the physical pain is easier to deal with. Sometimes people feel a lot of shame, and they can actually get on with their lives and enjoy life more after they have punished themselves, because it feels like that balances the scales. I'm a bad person, or I did a bad thing, but I've hurt myself. I've been punished. I paid the price for that, so I don't have to feel this shame and guilt anymore. And there's a lot of other reasons as well. Those are just the ones that come to mind from my clinical work. Charlie, it seems like it's the guilt and shame one. They tell him he's disgusting and he believes it. And it's the emotional pain one, replacing that with physical pain. And I don't want to feel that way anymore, is what he says. So notice Nick's response here when Charlie tells him this. Pure empathy.
Please don't do that now.
Please don't do that now.
Sorry. I thought we banned the S word. Can you promise to tell me?
Promise to tell me. Because I'm here for you. And we need that. Be it from a therapist, family member, friend, somebody that we can open up to. Somebody that we can tell these things. Because they're not shameful, though we're taught that they are, or we're socialized that they are. Or some people treat them as shameful because they don't know what to do. If you're watching this and somebody tells you that they've been harming themselves, they tell you that they are thinking of taking their life, or they tell you that they're depressed or anxious, you may panic or feel overwhelmed by it because it's so big. What do you say to something like that? What do you do? And we overthink it. And Nick gets it exactly right. Most people need to be held. They need to be told that they're loved and that they're not alone, and for that to be demonstrated. Of course, if someone is struggling with suicidal ideation, etc., they may need the support of a professional to help guide them through that. But you can play your role. And your role isn't to take it away. I think we often get intimidated by the pain of other people because we don't know what to do. And the reason we don't know what to do is because we feel like we have to make it go away. After my mom died, when I most needed social support is when I got it the least. And I got it the least because the people in my life withdrew. Not all of them, but a lot of them withdrew. And it wasn't because they didn't care. It's because they felt inadequate in the face of, what do you say to somebody whose mom just died? How can you be there for them? What, in the face of such tremendous loss, they felt inadequate and they didn't know what to say or do. I didn't need them to take it away. I didn't need them to make it better. I just needed to not be alone. It's actually quite simple. And Nick here isn't trying to solve the bullying problem. He's not trying to find exactly the right thing to say about how the bullies are all idiots and homophobia is wrong. I mean, he could do all of that. But all he does is show Charlie how loved he is and that he's not alone. And that's what we need to give one another. Whether it's LGBTQIA coming out, whether it's depression, anxiety, bullying, self-harm, the world just needs compassion. I think we have this mentality sometimes that life is tough, so deal with it, instead of life is tough, so I'm here for you. One of them speaks to a type of emotional and relational laziness, I think, or self-absorption. And the other speaks to, yeah, it does suck and it is hard, but instead of being bitter and cruel because it sucks and it's hard, we're going to lift each other. If you enjoyed this Heartstopper video, we've got a whole series that you can check out right here. And to the point of today's video, I've got another one called It Takes a Community, How to Heal from Trauma. Generally speaking, yes, can we do trauma healing work on our own? Absolutely we can, and sometimes we have to. But it's so much more powerful and easier if we have the support of one another. So what does that look like and how can we give that to one another? Check out this video. What do you think about Heartstopper and this moment from Season 2? Let me know in the comments below. And what support have you been given or have you needed in your darkest of times? Please share and let us know. Until next time, folks, keep shining because we need your light.